Hey guys, it's me, and so I'm gonna be doing a video about a movie that I just saw, and then I'm gonna be filming my response to the most recent Attack on Titan. I think it's episode 11. I've already filmed the reaction, and it's up on my Patreon for those of you who support me. Hopefully you got the word. um, but then I'll be obviously making that available to everyone. But I want to talk about this film that it's just sometimes movies just stick with you, and I just keep on thinking about it, and so I decided that I would think about it. I'm actually way more excited than the yawn lets on. Kind of talk about my thoughts. So the movie is Hereditary. And for those of you who haven't seen it yet, I will give you lots of warning, i.e., I will warn you before I give any spoilers. But kind of my broad thoughts about it. I thought the trailer was pretty misleading. I'm not a horror movie person. In fact, up until I started dating Chris, I think the first horror movie I saw was, or the last one I saw was The Sixth Sense when I guess you could call The Thing like the original, not the original, but the one like from the 80s. I guess you consider that horror. I haven't seen a lot of horror movies, but Chris loves them, and he asked for us to watch one on Halloween, so I did. So we watched Hereditary, and I'd seen the trailer for it, and I don't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting the film that I got. That's not to say I wasn't pleased with the film that I watched. It just wasn't exactly. I think the trailer did a good job in telling you kind of showing you the atmosphere of the movie without giving away like any plot points, like important plot points. So if you saw the trailer and you feel like you know what the movie is going to be about, like, you're wrong. It isn't. So go forth and enjoy. So all right, the characters or the actors. So it's got Gabriel Byrne, Toni Collette, Alex Wolff, and Millie Shapiro, and all four of them do an outstanding acting job. They just do a fantastic job. They're believable. They just draw you into the scenes that they dominate in. I feel like sometimes you kind of think, oh yeah, this is a great acting job by this actor. For instance, I feel like anytime I see Tommy Lee Jones in something, and I'm like, that's a great acting job, but it's still Tommy Lee Jones. Same thing with like Gwyneth Paltrow, or I feel Chris Pratt maybe, but it's not to say that they're not good actors. It's that they don't really feel super immersive. But then there are those actors that are absolutely immersive. Meryl Streep is a good example, and Daniel Day-Lewis, and Tilda Swinton, and what's her name? Something McDormand. She was in Burn After Reading. And yeah, anyway, I forgot her name, but her. I feel like all four of these individuals did an acting job that was very immersive. So where I didn't think, and I'd seen Gabriel Byrne and stuff before, and Toni Collette, and I didn't think, oh yeah, they're doing an awesome job. Like, they actually felt like the characters. It almost felt a little voyeuristic, which kind of plays into the theme that I saw in the film. So Toni Collette's character is named Annie Graham, which I'm sure anagram. I wonder if that has anything important. I've yet to find it, but if you know why, like if you found any anagrams in the movie, I'd love to hear about it. But her character, Annie Graham, is a miniature artist. And something that I loved about the film is that all the parts around the home, so like in the home, around the outside, they've got like a tree house. All of it felt like a miniature, which makes sense because Annie is a miniature artist and she's getting ready for this gallery showing. So I just thought that was an interesting and really cool artistic choice for the cinematographer and director. And I feel like it's not something that's normally done. So it made everything seem small, but not in a diminishing way. I don't know. It was really cool. They also employed this technique where it's kind of this fuzz focus. It's kind of faking depth of field. So I've seen this most notably in Sherlock, and I don't think Sherlock does a good job with this, where they use like kind of blur on the tops and the bottom, kind of like Instagram has the filter where you can fake that you actually have a camera that does depth of field. Well, Sherlock did that, and I just look at it as distracting. I'm like, you're not fooling anyone. Like that, it just looks out of focus. This employed it strategically in a way that it just made it the shots. They did it with kind of larger shots, made it seem really eerie, almost like a haze. I just loved that. Also, the music. Horror movies, I feel like they really excel with the music. Like, I feel like music can make or break a horror movie. And I say that as someone who actually doesn't watch a lot of horror movies, but I guess music could make or break a movie. But so much so, like, horror films are atmospheric, and they need that music to kind of set the tone. And this one does a really awesome job. There's this whoop, 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 whoop undertow, or undertone, I guess. And it's there even during scenes that are not suspenseful. But it definitely puts you on edge and kind of makes it where you feel like you're teetering on the edge, even if the person's just like walking across the street. So I thought that was uniquely employed, and I appreciated kind of the mood that music set. All right, so I think I'm probably going to start getting into some spoilers. So if you haven't seen it yet, I would recommend it if you are someone who likes horror movies or if you don't get majorly freaked out by, I don't want to say anything else about just creepy stuff. If you're not like super, super, super terrified by creepy stuff, or shadows. If like shadows or dark doorways kind of freak you out, or The Exorcist or anything like that, if you were unable to deal with those sort of things without lasting emotional scarring, if you didn't have that scarring, then Hereditary might be for you. If you had lasting emotional scars from horror movies, then I wouldn't recommend it. And if you're not sure, then I would check out maybe some less intense horror movies before jumping into this one. I asked Chris, and he said that this was definitely in the top half in terms of fear, like, that he experienced. So, I mean, maybe this is a starter horror movie. I thought Halloween was a good starter horror movie, just because it's not very gory. Which to say, neither Hereditary has moments of gore, but it's not the overarching kind of device. So, all right. You've been warned. Spoilers. I was floored by the reveal about Payman. And also, I was super creeped out to realize that Payman is an actual demon found in an actual grimoire, and that they used his symbol, his actual symbol found in the grimoire. Like, they found that. They used that throughout the film. And that just makes it so much creepier. Just because I am a science person, but I am, what's the term? Cynical is not the right term. I am skeptical enough of everything, including science, that I don't believe that we can know everything, and that there could be the door is open for things that we are unable to perceive in everyday life. I don't, so just, I think it's best, as Chris says, that he'd prefer to stay the south side of those sort of things, and I don't blame him. And so, anyway, I thought that the use of an actual demon and actual demon symbols was creepy. I think it added an element that I think if they just like made up a fictitious demon, it wouldn't have been as intense. Also, it made the revelation that the daughter Charlie was the vessel, and I mean, that makes sense. A little creepy. And that essentially the whole movie was intended to get the demon out of Charlie and into the sun, was just, it was creepy. They did a great setup in terms of, I wasn't sure if Annie, if Annie was just mentally ill, because they set up her family history to where it could have been totally mental illness. Like, mental illness is hereditary a lot of times. So I was like, okay, hereditary, it's actually mental illness. But then when it actually is like, no, she's not crazy, and that it's her mother that essentially is trying to bring forth this demon and to put it into the men in her life, that was just like, so you have like Annie's father who starves himself, and I gotta wonder if he starved himself to make his vessel, his body, not desirable for the demon, or was he cursed in some way to get him out of the way? I mean, I really want to know kind of why he would have starved himself. But then her brother having committed suicide, I read somewhere, and I can't remember this in the movie, and I can't go back and rewatch it because I rented it instead of bought it, but where he thought that the mother was trying to put something in him. I read that. I don't remember that in the film, but if that was said, that just makes it all the creepier. But essentially, he hung himself to avoid being possessed by this demon. And then the mom had dissociative identity disorder, and so because she's constantly being possessed by different things, or she's doing spells and trances or whatever, and so what seemed like just vanilla garden variety mental illness was actually like intense occult stuff, and that was like surprising, and yeah, it was super, super creepy. So I think I finally came to terms with the fact that no, this was actually really an occult thing when Gabriel Byrne bursts into flames, and I was like, oh, no, because up until that very point, I still thought that she might have been the one to rob her grandmother's grave, or her mother's grave, and she was the one to write the creepy words on the walls, and, you know, because she seemed she seemed very unhinged, and she also had a history of sleepwalking and almost murdering her family, and so it's just like, up until that point, I was firmly convinced that she was mentally ill. That's what I was expecting. And when it like totally turned, it was like, no, this is actually a real thing. And her freakouts are totally justified because there's this demon that's haunting them and trying to invade her son's body. It's just like, oh my God. And so that was a nice twist. Also, people on the ceiling when they shouldn't be on the ceiling is terrifying, and sort of makes me not want to watch Mary Poppins again because they were on the ceiling. It just, nope, not okay. Like when she is banging her head against the trap door or the attic door trying to get in, it's just like that. Oh, so creepy. Yeah, that was definitely, so there were definitely moments that were terrifying, but then I feel like this movie went from being, I mean, I was on the edge of my seat. It was super tense. I mean, my legs were just like, they just hadn't relaxed for probably 40 minutes. Excuse me. Good Lord. But then at the very end, when her son sees the creepy bodies and jumps out of the window and falls, and Payman enters into his back, I wasn't scared anymore at all. There was no fear of any. It was bizarre. I went from being super terrified to not at all. And so for the rest of the movie, it almost felt like an out-of-body experience a little bit, where I was just like, oh, well, this is gonna happen. Like, I almost didn't care about anything anymore. The bad guys won. Charlie was dead. Steve was dead. I can't remember the son's name to save my life. He's dead. Annie decapitated herself, and probably I think that was a needless, gory addition. I don't think she needed to, sorry, the dog's moving, decapitate herself. I saw that and I was like, I mean, clearly Payman has a thing for heads or headless bodies or something, because he decapitates the bird. He has the headless toys that Charlie had been making. He chopped off the head of Annie's mom, and then obviously Annie had her head chopped off, and then Charlie was decapitated. So it's like decapitation was a theme, but for some reason I almost didn't find her up in the rafters, like cutting off her head. I didn't find that scary. I just found that gross. I don't know. So I'd be interested to know why the director made that choice thematically. So yeah, that's kind of my I guess my ideas or perceptions or thoughts about it. The fact that I was able to handle this and not have nightmares, and I'm house sitting for my parents, hence why I'm in my parents' place and not in my house, but I'm able to be alone and not fear the dark. Like, oh, maybe I could handle more horror movies. Then again, I don't know how much of that I really need to watch without like my soul getting crushed. Kind of like how I used to listen to Sword and Scale, the podcast, which if you like true crime podcasts, it's a very interesting one. But I had to stop listening to it at some point because it was just so bleak and dark. And I just like, there's only so much darkness you can put in your soul before like it changes you. And so in those moments, I watch Disney movies and watch Babe and sing Christmas carols, even if it's like April, because I really feel that things that are emotionally cheerful, like, will put you in a more, if you steep yourself in those things, they make you a more cheerful person. And I feel like if you steep yourself in the graphic and the gory and the pornographic and the like the desperate, like, you will become that as well. So anyway, I don't know how many horror films I'm going to watch from now on, but maybe once a year, maybe once a quarter, who knows. Hereditary, interesting film, wonderful acting, really cool cinematography, lots of little hidden things that are making me think, like the triangle in the mom's room, in the grandma's room, and the words and the symbols, and it's just making me think back on it. So I'd actually think I'd like to see it again just to see how much I could catch. But anyway, just lovely little, like, I wouldn't call them Easter eggs, but cool little symbols that are nestled and pocketed throughout the film. So yes, that is Hereditary. So hopefully, I don't know, if you saw it, please tell me what you think. And yeah, that's that. So now I'm gonna go and watch Attack on Titan, or not Attack on Titan, but I'm not gonna watch it, but I am gonna do the commentary on it. So anyway, yeah, I hope you have a great day. Bye.